Hey, I'm Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co. and this video, I don't yet know what this video is. Well, I know what this video is. I don't know when this video is or where this video is. This may be a Patreon exclusive video, it may be a main channel video, but it's just not a today video. That's all I know for sure. I'm filming this video August 28th, 2022. Maybe it's a video for myself in the future. I don't entirely know. What I do know is I kind of want to sit down and talk out a few things. I find this therapeutic to a degree, and I didn't want this conversation to be happening in a public forum yet. Right now, this is just me to me, and maybe it goes up later, maybe not, I don't really know. I just have a lot going on right now, in a good way, not in a bad way, but a lot going on. I just wanted to sit down and talk to the camera, to mentally process, to put it all out in a way that I could deal with, talk about, I don't really know. And nothing's bad. There's no real issue. It's just a lot going on. I just find sometimes that when I have days like this, sometimes I talk to the camera and it goes up in a video the next day. But I didn't want this one to go up the next day. August 28th, 2022. It was my birthday 2 days ago. I just turned 33. That's not true. I just turned 34. Thank you very much. I've been saying 33 for a year now. It takes like a week or two to get out of the habit. Just turned 34. I'm not particularly attached to birthdays or ages for that matter. I never really have been. I mean, they're nice, birthdays that is, and ages don't really scare me, at least not yet. I tend to look at, I don't know, I just tend to feel a certain way, and I always have felt a certain way, and that way has always just continued to evolve as I got older, but there's no mental attachment, to me at least, there's no mental attachment to an age. I didn't panic when I turned 30, I'm not going to panic I shouldn't say I'm not, who really knows. I don't think I'll panic when I turn 40. I think I'll continue to always just move through life and just adjust to those stages as they happen. There are moments, don't get me wrong, there are absolutely moments when I go ahead and I look at my daughter, who's like 11 now. I think she's 11. Should get this right at some point. And realize that she's almost 11. She's about to turn 11, I should say. She's 10, almost 11. And then I look and realize that I'm the father of a nearly adult girl, adult's relative, but, you know, getting to those teenage years. And that's not something that happens one day. If you're a parent, you'll know what I'm talking about, that idea that you just kind of have kids at one point and you realize you had kids, and then at a certain point you realize your kids are older, and then maybe one day you wake up and your kids have kids and you're a grandparent. You didn't really realize that label was applied to you yet, and that label doesn't scare me either. I mean, 10 years from now I could be a grandparent. We'll see. I'll deal with it then. I'm not overly concerned. But the more relevant thing to me right now is less about my age. The birthday is kind of coincidental, and more that August 28th, 2022, that 11 days ago, I took a job at GameFound, as CMO of GameFound, Chief Marketing Officer. And about 4 or 5 days ago, I put out a video on the main channel, on the YouTube main channel, talking about that position. And a lot of things have been changing for me in a lot of different ways. My life has been spiraling. Spiraling is the wrong word. Spiraling sounds bad. My life has been changing quickly over the past 4 or 5 months in a way that I didn't necessarily anticipate it doing so. And most of the time I think I'm keeping up with things, and sometimes enough is happening that it's a little overwhelming. Again, not in a bad way, in a good way. I'm very grateful for all the things going on in my life, and very grateful for the position I'm in, and I have no complaints, like no complaints whatsoever. But just a lot going on. My pathway in life, where I am right now, where I'm trending towards, has nothing to do with where I thought I'd be. Nothing. A very short conversational aspect of my life until now, where I've been, all those things, is I went to school I went to school for a degree in business. Well, let me take a step back. I originally wanted to become a lawyer way back when, but then I kind of pivoted last minute and decided I don't actually want to be a lawyer because lawyer seems to be mostly paperwork. The idea of arguing in court, the idea of talking things out doesn't actually seem to be what most lawyers do. And so maybe a lawyer isn't what I wanted to do. And so last minute, like a year before going to school, I changed and decided to go into school for business. 2 years after that, I changed my mind again, but it was too late. I was about maybe 8 months away from graduating, and I was looking at the situation, and I was realizing what I actually wanted to do with my life was to become a psychologist. I wanted to talk to people for a living and help them. And the problem with that is I was about to graduate, and I was currently dating and looking forward to settling down and getting married and all that stuff. And then I realized that I didn't actually want to be in business. I just thought I did. But I was like, it's too late now. I'm basically graduating, so I'll go ahead and enter the business world and figure it out. And maybe years from now, I'll go back to school and become a psychologist and figure out that 12-year process of going through all the schooling needed to actually make a career out of talking to somebody for a living. And then I entered the business world and started doing businessy things and got involved in coding, which wasn't really my plan. I just picked up coding one day, part of a process of trying to figure out how to do the business stuff in a more efficient way, and it kind of just happened, and then that became my life for the next several years, and over the next 10 years or so, I just kind of did business-related things. There's more to the business-related things than the abstract nature of what I'm saying, but I'm trying to skip ahead here and not be too in detail. And then from there, somewhere along that pathway, I got involved in board games, started a board game store, but that really was kind of a peripheral thing. It's still more the businessy side of things than anything else. And then at a certain point in 2019, I started a YouTube channel to talk about board games, and then that kind of evolved a lot quicker than I thought it ever would. It never really was a thing that I thought would evolve past being this side little thing I did. And then at a certain point, I realized that there was a chance that I could make this whole talking about board games for a living thing into an actual living. And that's when I started to realize that there'd be a point where I left my job. At the time, I was COO, Chief Operating Officer of a company that built websites. That's what we did. We built websites for other companies, specifically e-commerce sites. If you want to sell something online, we built it for you, and we did that, or I did that. We did that. I'm part of the we in this conversation. And I knew that there'd be a point in time in which I left my job. And that point in time was accelerated because of, let's just call it, stuff at work. I don't want to heavily go into it. I will say I am both grateful for the job I had, the opportunities I had, the 7 years I was at that company, 8 years maybe. And also towards the end, I felt that it was becoming a place I didn't want to be as much. And so I exited that workplace earlier than anticipated. But still with the mindset, with plans, with realizing what was going to happen, and then kind of embracing the whole, hey, I'm doing YouTube content creation full time. And that was a thing I leaned into. But that kind of lasted a very short time before things came along and changed. The whole full-time YouTube board game situation, as much as I loved it, as much as I do love it, it's something that suddenly out of the blue, 4 months into my whole, hey, I'm doing board game YouTube full time. But 4 months into that, I got a job offer to become CMO of GameFound, and it was an opportunity that I felt I could not turn down. A very interesting and unique opportunity for a company that I really respect and value, and it just seemed like too good of an opportunity to pass up. And so I didn't. And so here I am, working for GameFound now. Well, the now is relative. Like I said already, I don't know when this video goes up. For all I know, this video goes up 7 years in the future. Probably not. I don't like to wait that long. But I don't know the situation. I assume I'm still working for GameFound at this time. I assume, something I didn't say in that initial video, is that inherently any new job is a trial to a certain degree. Is there a mutual win-win? Is there a fit and whatnot? The downside of leading your life fairly publicly is if that no longer happens, it's not like a side job that no one ever knows about. It'll be a very public, oh yeah, hey, the job opportunity didn't work out. Hopefully, if that does happen, it's with a degree of mutual understanding and respect and all that stuff and all good relationship things. It's still awkward. There's still that degree of public pressure. It's like, now I have to make this GameFound thing work out, not just for myself, not just for them, but also because I don't want the public conversation about a job that didn't work out so quickly, because people don't always know the behind the scenes. If it doesn't work out, it won't be a large conversation. It'll just be, hey, it didn't work out, and that's totally fine. But also very public, because I don't want to have to explain every behind the scenes thing to every single person. It's this weird balance. You kind of can't have it both ways. I choose to live my life. I choose to live my life fairly publicly, especially, I mean, even this is something I couldn't hide. It's something I could never have hidden in any way. And I never planned on it. It's always inherently obvious to me this would be a public thing, but yeah. And so there's that mental stress behind the background. Again, not complaining, just things going on. And the fact that this thing, as of right now, from where I'm sitting to you now, I don't remember the exact date they reached out to me, but this concept of what I'm doing has been around in my head for less than a month. I don't know exactly when, but less than a month has been in my head. And so that's something that, again, a lot changing very quickly. And that has consequences on the channel, on the YouTube channel, and how I interact with that and what I'm going to do there. Something I haven't talked about yet extensively in the main channel, but I'll talk about it here because this video may never go up. Who knows? It may be just for me, and maybe for Patreon, and maybe on the main channel. I don't know yet. But something I haven't talked about yet is currently in the conversational talks between Professor Meg and Devon Talks Tabletop, otherwise known as Meg and Devon to me. Between the two of them, I'm talking with them at the moment behind the scenes about the nature of them joining the YouTube channel, of them joining it in some way, shape, and form. What does that actually mean? That's hard to say, because the reality is that I'm very close friends with both Devon and Meg. Very, very close friends with them. And I have been for, well, Devon for a little longer, Meg a little more recently, but they've both become very important parts of just my life and the way I engage with them, the way they're both, like, that's the thing that's fascinating, but friendship is a fascinating conversation. Because I have a lot of close friends. Well, a lot's a relative term. I have a few other close friends. But it's interesting when you have people like Devon, like Meg, like Jesse from Quackalope. When you have people who are both your close friend and in the board game space, it means that the thing I do for a living, the thing I like to spend most of my time in and that I do for a living, is also where I can spend time with friends, and that changes the nature of things to a degree. Because I have very close friends outside the board game space, but the nature of just the reality is that I spend less time with them. And so the relationships within the board game space deepen more, and it's also how they can be faster in terms of how quickly they grow. Both Jesse, Devon, and Meg have all been people that I found a degree of connection with, and then those friendships blossomed very quickly and in very unanticipated ways. And in the case of Jesse, obviously I've been working with him for a long time now at this point. In the case of Devon, similarly. In the case of Meg as well. If you don't know about that, I'm over on Twitch with Camp Co-op. We link in all the videos and things where we're streaming through a whole lot of campaign games, embracing a bunch of games that are very, very fun, by the way. We're going through Gloomhaven a lot. That's a ton of fun. We've recently been diving into Hothmox Victorum. Yes, it's a solo game. Yes, we're playing it cooperatively. It works. We've been diving into, recently we just dove into Roleplay Adventures for the first time. That's only one game in when I'm filming this, but I really enjoyed Roleplay Adventures, and I'm really excited to dive back into it for the second adventure, and the third adventure, and the fourth adventure, and they have an upcoming Kickstarter campaign for more content and all that stuff, and very excited about that one. Very, very, very big fan of that, at least so far. We'll see where it goes. I did say in my final thoughts in our Twitch stream that it depends on where it goes. I could see if it doesn't really grow past the tutorial adventure, then I would just really enjoy it. But if it does grow, I think I'll really, 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 really enjoy it. So we'll see. We'll see. I'm excited. Give me time. We'll find out where it actually ends up and goes. But going back to what I was saying about Devon and Meg, part of what I was saying is that the nature of me taking on a job means I'm worried about gaps in some things I do, and I want to make sure that I don't push myself too hard about different things, and so I'm trying to bring on help in different ways, both people on the channel, as well as voices on the channel, as well as behind the scenes stuff as well. And so between them, I'm hoping that some of the behind the scenes things that we do could be taken care of in different ways. Some of the things, perhaps like the thumbnails that I do, that take more time than you might realize to just do a stupid little thumbnail, that maybe I can outsource it to someone, but pay them along the way. And then similarly have them involved in videos, which they both have been anyway, but maybe I do so on a more regular basis and justify, the travel costs back and forth between all of us as we figure out ways to spend time together and to do content together. And this whole thing is an opportunity for me to basically say, hey, I have a whole new job. I'm going to put some of that money into just continuing the YouTube channel and the growth without having to worry about whether there's a financial return. Effectively, I'm dumping money into two people's part-time salaries. It's not really salaries, it's part-time pay to be involved in things that we anyways do and anyways enjoy, but to bring them on and to kind of keep it as loosely based on work and significantly more based on friendship. Basically, I'm paying my friends to hang out with them if it comes out to that. That's what it comes down to, because that's what I want to do. I want to make sure it's a weird balance as well. I've been an employer before. With Board Game Co., with the retail operation I had, I've been an employer, and I've always, in my opinion, I've juggled that fairly well. Fairly well is always tricky. It's weird, because I've been an employee, and I've been an employer, and I've been an employee to bosses I liked, and I've been an employee to bosses I didn't like, and that means I have kind of a framework of things that have worked for me or not, and the weird balances of relationships, and I've tried applying that to being an employer in the past, and I certainly assume I have not been perfect, but I think I've been pretty decent. I probably have been less present than I should be, but also very, very chill about any number of things that go wrong. And I guess the way I look at it is the mental stress of being an actual enforced employer, I'm just not interested in for myself. I'd rather be your friend than your boss, although it's a weird conversation to juggle, but it's something that I think I'll be able to juggle very well with both Devon and Meg. I think that the way I'm treating this is primarily as friendship based, doing things we like, only paying people to do things that they actually have a semi-degree of interest in doing, and then just keeping it the kinds of stuff we do together anyways, but with a little bit of money behind it to justify all the costs and time and all those things behind it. But still, something I'm a little nervous about. Because at the end of the day, you're adding money between friends, and that does have the potential to always go any number of different ways. But I'm also excited about it. Because, well, it's fun. So I have that going on behind the scenes. I have the whole GameFound job and the way that's going to shift and adjust my life. And I just have an obscene amount of travel. An absolutely obscene amount of travel recently that, while I love, has also added to that whole balance aspect. I mean, even this video is being filmed at 3:35 in the morning, just for context. 3:35 in the morning, which is not when I'm usually up these days. Usually I try to be in bed by 1, maybe 2 at the latest. I'm aiming for like 5 hours of sleep a day right now, and that's because I don't like sleep. It's not because I'm pushing myself just for the sake of pushing myself, it's because I don't like sleep. Sleep to me is something that has always been the thing that I need to do because my body needs to function, but the lesser I can get by on, the better and the happier I'll be for it. I view sleep as a waste of time that is required. And the time doesn't necessarily mean productivity. The time could just be fun. I don't mind doing things that are fun. To me, sleep is not fun. It's just a waste. But the reason I'm up at 3:35 in the morning is because I just got back from Toronto. Just got back from visiting my family at, maybe 2:30 or so. Got a few things done, cleaned up a few things. I'm about to film another video after this, and then I'll call it a night and get up in 3 hours. Yeah, it seems like a big mistake. But this whole travel thing. Travel is happening far more frequently than I ever would have been comfortable with, and while I'm enjoying it, and I'm enjoying what I'm doing and where I'm going, it's another degree of mental stress that's going on in the background while everything else around me changes. Just to give you a bit of a context framework to all the stuff going on in my life this past month, and next month, and the month after that, and all those things. The past month or so, I went to Gen Con in August. Then Professor Meg visited me for... we had a publisher coming in. We were doing content together with the publisher. Then 2 weeks later, she was back visiting me because we had another publisher coming in to do more content. And then 2 weeks after that, I was visiting her to do more content for a different publisher. And then after that, there's WSBG, World Series of Board Gaming, which is another month from now. It's going to be like 7 days off, but 7 days off, 7 days away in between a holiday. It's going to be a holiday before, 7 days of WSBG, holiday after. Then this past week, in between that, I just came back from Toronto. So in between those days, I came back from Toronto just right now, visiting my family, which is something I try to do every 2 months. Speaking of which, after WSBG, I'll be again visiting my family a week after that for the holiday of Sukkot. So I'll be gone for another 2 or 3 days there. Then when I come back from that, I'm likely flying into Poland. This is where my schedule starts to drift a bit. I'm likely flying into Poland for like a week because, hey, I have a job at GameFound. I'm going to go meet the team and hang out and do all those things and learn the operations, the people, all that stuff. And then I don't have an exact timeline once we drift away from that. This is all the past, this is like a 2-month block of time and all that. There's a chance I'm flying into England shortly after that. We'll see exactly how that plays out. And then from there, I don't have an exact drift. The next thing on the calendar at that point is December, when I go to December 2nd or so, when I go to PAX Unplugged. But in general, at this point, between my life in general, the way it works right now is every 2 months or so I go to Toronto to visit my family. My family, like being my siblings, my parents, all that stuff. Every 2 months or so, there's a board game convention. On rough average, between Gen Con, between Origins, between PAX Unplugged, between UKGE, between Essen, I feel like I'm missing one. Between those 5 at a bare minimum, and then potentially more as well. I mean, there's a lot more board game conventions. The questions are, which ones do I end up going to? But a bare 5 at the minimum, potentially 6 or 7 once you count the playing games conventions like BGG Con or any of the Dice Tower conventions. But on average, there's visiting my family every 2 months. There's going to convention every 2 months. Then there's going to be between Devin, Meg, and myself. We're going to be rotating about how and where we travel. But that's going to be probably happening every month or two. Either them coming to me coming to them. We'll figure it out. But it's just there's a lot happening. And again, these things are mostly fun. These things are mostly things that I enjoy. It's not complaining. It's just things happening. And things happening at a pace that is exceeding my usual norm. Before I quit my job, I probably traveled maybe to my family every 2 months to Toronto, but then past that, nothing-ish at all. Or left at Gamma. From the conventions, Gamma, that's going to be one I go to every year. Yeah. There's always going to be these opportunities and things in front of me, and I'm very, very happy and very, very grateful. But it does mean things are moving quickly. I've also been adjusting the way I interact and engage with board games because of that. I've been trying to pull back a drop from just how much I seek out the cult of the new and I will seek out the cult of the new still. The very nature of me being a content creator means that I have both a personal incentive because I like board games and I'm fairly addicted to them, but then also a channel incentive because new content, new games always do better. At the end of the day, people are looking for more opinions and reviews and information around the newest stuff as opposed to anything else. And so there will be that as well. But at the same time, I could cover a little less of the newer stuff. There's so much newer stuff out there. I can cover a drop less and be totally fine. And I've been leaning more heavily into campaign games. Part of this is because of the nature of what we're doing over on Twitch, where I'm using Twitch as an opportunity to... Twitch pays like garbage. The amount of time we're putting into Twitch versus the amount of time we're getting back. I think we're paying ourselves like $3 an hour, but we're paying ourselves $3 an hour to do something that is fun. We're leaning into it heavily to do something that is fun, that is enjoyable. We're playing campaign games, and I'm really enjoying the process of it. We are still mentally overcommitting. We have on our list, like I said, Hopmachus Victorum, we have Gloomhaven, we have Roleplay Adventures, but we also have a list like 14 lines long of all the things we want to get to. We want to play Madara, we want to play Dice Throne Adventures, we want to play Oathsworn, we want to play Too Many Bones, we want to play Cloudspire, we want to play more games. Always, always more games. There'll always be more stuff to do. Overall, I would say that I am very, very happy with everything going on. Every single thing in front of me is something that I have chosen. And when I look back at my life a year ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, versus now, versus where I think it'll continue to go, I'm just happy. I'm just happy with all the things happening and the stuff and the way it's affecting my life. But I'm happy with the cognizance that things are changing quickly. Things are changing very quickly, and anything changes. And I'm also worried as well. This is one of those things where the nature of the GameFound position does mean a conflict of interest with the way I engage in content on the main channel. And I'm not overly worried about that, but I am mindful of that. I'm mindful of where and how that curbs my voice, where and how I can't say things I want to, or where and how I say the exact things I want to, but then people perceive it as being biased and don't want to hear it. It's always been a balance on my end of trying to be mindful of the majority of people who are here for the content versus the peripheral edges who have opinions one way or the other that I can't always cater to the peripherals. It's one of those weird balances around just the nature of I'll always be doing things that are right for some people and things that are wrong for others. There'll be people who tune in for a video like this because, hey, it's a conversational behind-the-scenes thing and it's like a deeply personal connection in some way. And then there'll be people who like see a video like this and be like, more board game content, less personal stuff. Which, hey, again, at the end of the day, I'm going to build my content based on what I want to do, and hopefully that has a audience for it. Hopefully that has people that it connects with. Because at the end of the day, in the YouTube space, there's not enough money to do things, at least in the board game YouTube space, there's not enough money here to do things unless I enjoy them. That goes back to the Twitch content or the Gloomhaven stuff, and it's like, paying myself $3 an hour is abysmal, but paying myself $3 an hour to do the thing that I want to do anyway, well, that's pretty darn good. And that's true of the greater YouTube channel as well. There's not enough money. I don't charge for content. I specifically don't want to. I've always said, like, the idea of it in theory is fine, but for me personally, I just find that if I start charging for content, I think that I would enjoy this space less. I think I'd rather just have a job at that point. I want to be able to talk about the things as freely as possible. Even the GameFound opportunity, the fact that it in some way shackles some of the things that I'd like to be able to talk about or say is an opportunity cost. There are costs left, right, and center whenever you do anything in life. There are costs to anything. To playing new games, there's a cost to that because you might play less of the games you love. Playing the games you love, there's a cost to that. You can't play the new games as much. Anything like traveling to a board game convention has a ton of fun attached to it, but then also there's a catch-up and a degree of extra work involved because you're offline for 4 days, not doing your regular work. Everything in life, good, bad, it all has a trade-off. It's all about the choices we make along the way to navigate those trade-offs and find the best thing for us in that pathway. It's going to continue to be what I do on this channel. It's going to continue to be the case that I will always seek to do the thing that I think gives me the greatest full package, whatever that full package means. But right about now, I'm looking at a new job, a new opportunity. board game conventions every 2 months, spending time with my friends in between that, justifying it by calling it work, and just overall having a good time. And playing new games. It's still fun. This past week I just played The Loop for the first time from Pandasaurus Games. Really enjoyed that one. Looking forward to diving into it more and to try the various scenarios and the expansion. I have the Revenge of Fozilla. Have that I want to dive into. I played Warhammer Quest Lost Relics. Probably not keeping that one, but really enjoying that one. Then Roleplay Adventures, I talked to you about that already. That one was very exciting, very fun. I look forward to diving into that one as well. I did just find out that a hour-and-a-half long video I filmed, I deleted the files for it and I don't have it anymore, which was very sad for that. That was definitely sad. I'm not thrilled with that one. But overall life is good. A little hectic, a little crazy, a little too busy at times, and a lot of stuff behind the scenes that I haven't gotten to that I really need to. Paperwork and tedious things and housework repairs and different stuff that kind of sits there and sometimes doesn't get dealt with because everything else is happening first. Not having a job for 4 months didn't really help with that. Or having a content creator board game job and not having a full-time job. There's always things to get to. There'll always be more things. One of those lines I saw once upon a time that really resonated with me is that life is saying, don't worry, after these next 2 weeks things will calm down until you die. A little morbid, but the concept of it has truth to it. There'll always be something keeping us busy. And I think it's good. I think it's good to be busy. I think it's good to have your hands full, to have your time filled. I don't know where I'll be 2 years from now. I don't know where I'll be 5 years from now. But I will say that I am, as much as the changes are all giving me whiplash, I'm really enjoying the direction life has taken me in. Planned or unplanned, even as it continues to be planned and unplanned. And as usual when it comes to a video like this, I'm grateful to all of you for having been a part of how it got to the way it has been and how it's continuing to evolve and move. And we'll see. I am curious what happens to this video. I'm not comfortable publishing it today. I'm not. I want to wait on this one. Sometimes I think a video that takes place in the future is not a bad thing. Maybe I'll wait for a rainy day. A day that I don't have a video planned and I need something to throw up. Maybe not. Who knows? Maybe the whole GameFound thing falls apart. Or Devin and I have a huge fight and never talk again, and then this video is going to be super awkward. We'll see. In any case, and until next time, I'm Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co., and I hope you have a good one.